Hi, Susie.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Well, nice to meet
Thank
you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so I got your paperwork, so that everything was filled out, and it seemed like you were kind of interested in coming in today to talk to me. So first, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm feeling a little anxious.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's understandable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's brought you in today? What's got you feeling anxious?
Well, I think I think I'm just an anxious person
Uh huh.
as it is. I think I'm just kind of wired that way. But something happened over the weekend that I just thought, I don't know. I thought maybe my anxiety is not just me. It might be coming from outside of me too, if that makes sense. And so I felt like I just needed to talk to somebody to see, is it me? Is it this other person? Is it a mixture of the two? You know.
Did something happen that made you feel
Yeah.
anxious?
So my husband and I were driving and we were going on a trip, and he started driving really, to me, recklessly. Like, I know he thinks he has control and of the car, and he's a good driver, and but he was going in between the cars, and it was really just starting to make me feel a little anxious. And so I said to him, please, the way you're driving is really having an effect on me. I'm really starting to feel anxious. I'm feeling a panic attack coming on. Could you please just, maybe pick a lane, stay in it for just a little while, like not trying to control him, but like he thought I was trying to control him, and we got into this big argument, and I ended up having that panic attack, and I had to climb into the back seat, but it was actually worse in the back seat than it was in the front seat, in the passenger seat, so I climbed back up there. And anyway, it got me thinking, like, what's his responsibility in caring for me, and what's my responsibility in working through the anxiety so that he doesn't feel like I'm being controlling in our relationship.
Right. That makes sense. The first thing I want to do is just back up a little bit and ask you. So you came in, you said you think you have anxiety, right? Then you said you had a panic attack.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that something that happens regularly for you?
Not regularly. I have experienced anxiety, and I have a diagnosis of generalized anxiety. So from time to time, certain events will kind of trigger that.
Okay. So with the panic attacks,
yeah,
have you ever been
I
seen anybody about that, or in your experience, what's going on when you experience that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really scary. I haven't had a panic attack in a long time, probably since college. In college, I would get them quite frequently, and I told my doctor about them. And for a little while, I took some medication that helped kind of just take the edge off the panic attacks. But it's really scary. It's like my heart starts racing, and I start having trouble breathing, and I think I'm like going crazy, or I'm having a heart attack. And my husband knows this. I mean, we dated in college, so he knows this about me.
So when you've had panic attacks in the past, how have you dealt with it?
Well, like I said, in college I took some medication.
Right.
But since I've been married, like we talked about my going off the medication and kind of just trying to kind of deal with my anxiety without the medication. And for the most part, it's been pretty good. Like I haven't really experienced any panic attacks, like to this degree. Like I might start to feel one come on, but I can kind of breathe through it and all of that. And so it wasn't until this weekend and then I started to feel like I was back there in college experiencing all those panic attacks again, and just feeling like just out of control. Right.
Okay. So I just want to share with you, like, what's happening to you is not anything out of control in my perspective, or you know what I mean. Like it's normal. This stuff happens. I want to explore with you, like, you know, like you were asking, what's my husband's role and
Mm-hmm.
in all this. But I think the first thing that we should probably look at and try to explore is like how to, in the moment when you're having a panic attack, like get you to feel safe and you know so that you're okay regardless of what's going on around you. You know.
Yeah.
And so, have you ever heard of like grounding techniques?
Like the breathing.
Right, like the breathing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Have you ever tried that?
I do.
Does that help you at all?
It does.
Okay.
It does help me.
So a lot of times, this is my understanding of it. Like our, when we're having a panic attack, it's almost like an out of body experience. Okay, and um, what grounding does is it gets us back in touch with you know the the things that we can sense, touch, smell, hear. So any of those tactile type of senses are the things that you want to start to focus on. Breathing techniques are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you've already have some experience in that, so you feel like you know how to do that.
Well, I do, except for in the scenario this last weekend where I
Right.
couldn't find a safe place.
Right.
And you mentioned the word safe, and like that's what I felt like. Like I wasn't in a safe place.
Right. So, and again, did you try the breathing techniques?
I did.
Okay. And it didn't
The
help?
panic still came.
Okay. And what about reminding yourself where you were,
Mm-hmm.
that you were okay? Like, do those types of thoughts come through your head, or you just feel a complete loss of your ability to control anything?
Yeah, I tried, but my thoughts started kind of getting ahead of me in that I couldn't understand why he wouldn't help me feel safe.
Right.
And so I guess my mind just kept going there, and then it was just kind of getting
Right.
worse.
So again, like in the moment, I just don't want you to worry about like what he's doing.
Yeah.
I want to focus on what you can do to
Yeah.
help yourself in the moment. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And because we'll get to your husband, I think it's important to kind of try and figure some of that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to kind of give you some tools, hopefully, so that in the moment, like you have some things that you can do and rely on, other than having to rely on somebody else or something else.
Oh,
You know, to
good.
pull yourself out of the panic attack.
So when the breathing doesn't work, you know, you mentioned the focusing on my like environment.
Mm-hmm. So just pick something stationary and focus on it, and just practice telling yourself like I'm okay, I'm safe.
Okay.
You know, I'm here in the back seat of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has happened. I'm okay, and it's almost like you have to tell yourself and remind yourself that you're okay in the moment. You know, and it's almost like talking yourself out of it.
Yeah.
You know, which the medication does help, but see, if you take the medication, it's not going to be immediate, right?
Right.
So we're looking for an immediate solution in the midst of like what's going on with the panic attack.
It just happens so quick. It's hard.
Right. No, I get it. And let me ask you a question. Did you notice a buildup going into the panic attack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while I tried to manage my anxiety quietly, and then I was like holding onto the bar, and then I was dash, and so it was a progression.
Normally, with these types of things, there's signs and flags that say, okay, I'm building up to a panic attack. Mm-hmm. So the techniques, if you use them as a preventive measure, they may help you to get to that point. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of like, okay, now I'm in this moment where I feel like everything's encroached on me and I can't breathe and I don't feel safe and I feel like I've lost control. When you start to feel that way, you start to practice the breathing, right? You start to use the sensation of grounding, focus on something that you can hear, and start, telling yourself like, no, I'm okay. Yeah. And you try that before you get to that point,
Like, would music help if I had tried to turn the radio on?
I think sometimes music helps us to, I don't want to use the word distract us, but kind of take our focus off, oh my God, I'm going to die. My husband's weaving in and out of traffic like a madman. You know what I mean? Because it's like we get stuck and fixated on this thought. And a lot of times fear is associated with, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like if this does, what if this, what if that? And it's like we're fixated on the feeling and the fear, and so it's like you want to try to grab a hold of something that's going to take you out of that. So and remind yourself like, no, I'm okay. Yeah, and I think your husband does bear some responsibility to be sensitive to your feelings. And
how do I tell him that though? Because he didn't hear me, and I don't know how to get through to him how important it is to me to feel safe.
Does he realize that you had a panic attack?
Yeah.
How did he feel about that? How did he treat you in the midst of that and coming out of the panic attack?
Well, I just was like, grow up and stop, and everything's fine. I'm a good driver. There's nothing to worry about here.
Right. So he just dismissed what you were going through?
That's what it felt like.
Okay. That's got to be hard because a panic attack is a pretty serious thing,
Well, I'm glad you said that because I didn't know. Like, maybe I'm making a bigger deal of it than it is, but it feels like it's all consuming.
Right. And that's how it feels to you, right?
Yeah.
So in the moment, it's real.
It is.
And, you need that to be validated because, and whether your husband understands or not, I need you to understand that in that moment, I know what that feels like, and it's a bad feeling,
Mm-hmm. So how can I talk to him and help him to understand?
Well, is he aware medically, like, of what's actually going on with you and what, a panic attack is? And
I think so. He's been to the doctor with me, and, I've tried to get him to read some things about it, but he's not really interested. I don't know.
It sounds like he's not really supportive of your, and he may just not understand, so it sounds like you're kind of going through this struggle with your anxiety and even to the point of panic attacks on your own.
Yeah, it's very lonely. I feel very alone.
It's got to be tough. So hopefully coming here at least, like you talking to somebody may help some. As far as like, your relationship with your husband and what the answer is, I can't really give you the answer of how to have him come alongside you in that moment and understand. You know what I mean? I can help you explore some options with that. And, as far as like, what are some things that you think that you could maybe do to better help him really explain and understand, like, this is what it feels like and this is what I'm going through in that moment. And I would, like you to be able to help me in that.
Well, I almost wonder if like hearing you talk to me, it's like you made it normal almost. And like,
Right.
I don't know, I wonder if maybe he would hear from you what he can't hear from me.
That's a possibility. Do you think he'd be open to that?
Maybe.
Maybe somebody else explaining to him kind of what's going on,
Maybe. Maybe man to man he would,
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not in your, it's a real thing, and it involves, things in our body physiologically that are really happening. So it's if he's willing, I would definitely be willing to discuss with him, really what's going on and maybe some ways in the moment that he can help you,
Yeah, because like right now, I really don't even think it's right for me to ride with him at all. Like I don't even want to get in the car with him.
Right. Have you ever had anything traumatic happen in the vehicle or any bad accidents or anything like that?
No, I've gotten into a couple accidents myself driving, but I haven't gotten into any where somebody else is.
Well, that may still be relevant.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. It's still traumatic, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel after those accidents? Anything major or?
Yeah, I was definitely scared. Yeah.
Any injuries?
No, just the car totaled.
Totaled the car.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it must have been a pretty bad accident.
It was pretty bad. Yeah. I was coming out of the driveway, couldn't see either way. There was a car coming. It was probably going way too fast. And
right.
I inched out. But like I didn't think about that while I was feeling.
Right. Was there anybody else in the car?
No, it was just me.
Okay. And how did you feel in the moment?
Yeah, I was just kind of like paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah.
So you think that might be related?
I think sometimes we experience things that are traumatic
Mm-hmm.
and we never really have an opportunity to deal with those things and get some closure on it, on how we felt,
Mm-hmm.
and that absolutely affects us in the future.